amazing.
Oh, awesome.
So, I'm so excited to have Dr. Christine Schaffner live with me today. She is the whole reason that we've actually got the AMD Ion Foot Cleanse in clinic here in Wellington, New Zealand. I had the privilege of going to Seattle to Dr. Schaffner's clinic, the Sophia Institute, last year, and I got to experience the AMD Ion Foot Cleanse for myself. And I was also privileged enough to talk to a lot of your patients about their experience with it and how useful it was for their bodies and their detoxification. So because you were so implemental in like me getting it here in New Zealand and us being the first clinic in New Zealand to have it, I wanted to interview you today, Christine, just to find out why you did it, and just talk about detoxification, the lymph system, all of these fun things. So can you tell us what interested you in it in the first place, or why you brought it into the Sophia Institute?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so fun, Shelley. I can't believe it's already a year since you were in Seattle and we were taking care of you. And it was so fun to see you, in our city. So no, I'm so glad that you were able to embrace that experience and take what you learned. And that's the whole goal. We just want to give people more tools and our patients more tools because as you know, and as I'm sure your patients are well aware, we just we're up against so much nowadays, and we're just seeing the rise in chronic illness, whether it's in our youth or with adults. Just chronic illness is affecting all ages, and it's really an environmental illness at the root of it, I believe. And so we have to really look at tools and therapies and strategies to really eliminate the things that we're exposed to on a daily basis, from heavy metals to pesticides to plastics, a host of endocrine disruptors and so forth. And so we're always trying to look for the best tools and therapeutics to bring into the office, and then also for patients to use at home as well. And it's funny. I don't even know what year we brought the Footbath in, but it was one of those things that had been circulating for a long time. And, I know there's a lot of misinformation about footbaths on the internet. And so we're, of course, wanting to be, science focused and also really open-minded as well, whatever's going to work, right, to help our patients. And so, I believe, Dr. Klinghardt connected with a few different footbath companies, and we were seeing results. And so we got, like with anything, if our patients teach us, and they were feeling better. And so we really looked at how to implement this more. And I'm reminded as we're talking, I think one of the things that changed Dr. Klinghardt's mind about footbaths is that one of his friends in Europe did a study and saw that there was an increase in actually urinary excretion of heavy metals the day 3 after doing a footbath. And so, we're always looking at how to eliminate heavy metals out of the body because they're, persistent, it takes time. And this is a very gentle strategy compared to a lot of other more invasive strategies like chelation, which of course we use and of course is important, but we have to do it at the right time. And so that's sparked our curiosity. And then A Major Difference has been a great company. I think that they have done a really wonderful job, and they really focus on children with autism as well as anyone with a chronic illness, and they've done some really exciting research as well, and they've been able to document that they have seen also what Dr. Klinghardt's friend produced the same research, that there was an increase in urinary excretion of heavy metals, I believe day 3 after a foot bath. And then there's just all of these benefits. They also showed, I think after a 12-week period of doing 2 foot baths a week, there was a statistically significant decrease in aluminum and cadmium, 2 heavy metals that they found in the blood. So we know it works, and it's a wonderful tool, and people feel good. I think there's a lot of, benefit of getting people relaxed. It's it has a relaxation effect, which is helpful for so many different systems. And then we know it's a wonderful strategy long-term to really decrease our environmental burden.
100%. And I think the key thing you say there is, even if you don't have heavy metals, even if you don't have amalgam fillings, even if you haven't had cadmium, mercury, all of these things in our bodies, it's the daily load from the life, like the society, the environment that we live in now, where we do need to be implementing whatever it looks like for each patient, each client, some sort of detoxification protocol. And like you said as well, and I've noticed this with my clients and with myself personally, I like to stack benefits. And the fact that it relaxes you and the fact that it gets you so parasympathetic, as far as I'm concerned, is just a good thing anyway. If like the amount of clients that are just like, but I just feel so good.
Absolutely. I feel like, I try to do those and these in my life as well. And I feel like there's just, yeah, a relaxation benefit. And we know not only the parasympathetic effect and the detoxification effect, and it also has been shown to balance the pH in a body. And so we know pH balance is really critical for, health and longevity and preventing chronic disease and demineralization. So it has, I would say those are the three buckets that it really works on in helping restore someone's health.
So, Christine, that's a really interesting point, because I didn't know that it actually helps. That's the first time that I've heard that, and I just love learning more about it. So every person that I interview about this, I do it for clients, but I also do it on a very selfish level, where I'm like, I want to learn more. So do you know how or why, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, that it your pH?
Well, we use a couple, there's a couple different companies in this space, and one other company, they're in Canada, and they've done some research of looking at urine and salivary pH before and after a foot bath, and they show that the pH balances. So we look at, just to take a step back, we can look at urine and salivary pH as a window into the pH of our body, and it stands for potential hydrogen. So it's really about our body's ability to have an optimal cell voltage and electron status in the body, and that translates into health and our body's ability to repair and communicate. And it has to do with our electrolyte balance as well. And so I believe, they were able to kind of, a lot of this is a little bit of theory still of why they were able to document it does restore pH, but the theory around it is how it can reduce acidity in the body, because also, the controversial part of a foot bath that we tried to kind of stay out of because we weren't sure where the science landed, but, people talk about, okay, what's in the water? Because the water changes, right? And so what's happening,
Totally.
I know, right? So what's happening in a foot bath is there's a metal coil, and you put it in warm salt water, and then the metal coil basically produces electricity that splits the water molecule into ions, so positive and negative ion. And so the effects of that, because our feet actually have, I think I was reading, Shelley, don't quote me on this, but I think over 2,000 sweat glands, so I think our feet are actually very, they're very, there's a lot of pores, there's a lot of sweat that can happen out of the feet. And so it naturally is an elimination route. And we know that through reflexology and, other modalities that people working on the feet have seen therapeutic effects in the rest of the body. So that's the theory around the water change, is that this electrical current and how that splits the water molecule and creates the ion can create electromagnetic field and basically can draw toxins out of the sweat glands in the feet. And so, I would say that's still a little controversial about what's coming out of the water. I think there needs to be more studies, but some people have shown heavy metals are actually coming, but we're seeing things like urea and different acids in the body. So it's going to reduce acidity in the body through this mechanism. And so I'm still learning, and I think we all are, but that's what we know right now.
That's awesome. And have you personally done the urine pH strips? Like, have you tried it yourself?
Yeah. I have a foot bath, and I played around with it. And we, when we were getting going, I'm not doing it on a regular basis, but one of the trainers was showing me, and I was seeing a difference. Yeah. So we, pH is kind of controversial, because when you think about pH, the people are like, oh, you have to be alkaline, but there's a balance, right? And so we use more of Dr. Avicii was this physician back in the early 19th century, or 20th century rather, that he did a lot of cancer research, and he studied pH very significantly, and he looked and documented that salivary pH we wanted around 6.7, and then urine pH around 6.4ish. And so those are the optimal levels that we're looking for, because you can do this with or without a foot bath. This is a great window. You can do, look at morning salivary pH and morning urine pH, and just use that as a document of as you get better, the pH in your body will get better. And typically when people are sick or have any symptoms, they're more acidic. So they're going to be lower than those numbers that I just said. So this helps to balance and optimize. And I only did a couple spot checks, and I did see a shift, in my pH when I did this, but But yeah, I think there's a lot of, you should start doing this with clients.
I'm going
Yeah.
to, Christine. That's what I was just thinking, because
Yeah.
I've done my urine pH and salivary, and I do test clients' salivary pH,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
didn't know the connection. Like, and I will spot check my urine pH regularly.
Yeah.
But now I'm gonna do it straight after this interview. You've just had a sauna. I'm gonna have a foot
Yeah,
cleanse.
yeah. Oh no, I was getting inspired. I had a moment, and I was like, oh, this is fun, right? So I know. And these are, the fun thing about this is, yes, you can feel a benefit in one treatment, but these are lifestyle tools. And I think the more that we can empower our patients to live a lifestyle of detoxification, that's not going to only help us to recover from a chronic illness, but also to, stay healthy and well. And I think that's just what we need to, with the reality that we're all facing.
Totally agree with you, Christine.
Mhm.
And like, it's not just about recovering, it's actually
Mhm.
about living in the best health possible and
Mhm.
taking off the stress burden of our bodies with all the toxification just in the world that we live in. So,
Mhm.
Christine, you told me before we started recording, you've just stepped out of your sauna, right? Like,
Mhm.
you are living proof of doing this. You ask the questions to do, you do it too. So
Mhm.
why do you like sauna therapy, or what do you see with the benefits for that as well?
Yeah, sauna is just another wonderful detoxification tool, and I enjoy sauning myself because it's relaxation for sure. You get that 30 minutes to 1 hour of actually, having a moment to yourself and having some reflective time. So I think there's so much. There's a need for that, right? In society, we need that recharge time and we need that quiet time in order to go back into our world and to be, the healthiest, best people that we can. And so I think that's absolutely a benefit. And then I love to sweat, and obviously, sweating is a huge route of elimination, right? And so, we know that sweating helps us to eliminate toxicity, such as heavy metals can be eliminated through our sweat glands, as well as things like phthalates they've shown, and even plastics. And so, it helps us to decrease our environmental burden, which actually puts less stress on our other organs of elimination. So, in naturopathic medicine, we're always taught to look at how to support the organs of elimination. And basically, any disease condition is when these organs of elimination are overwhelmed and then basically creating stress in other parts of the body. So, if we can help, eliminate through the skin, then we put less stress on the liver and the kidneys especially. So I like that for that reason. And then one thing that I'm really, enjoying learning about and continuing to implement into my practice is this idea about exclusion zone water. And so infrared heat is around 1200 nanometers. It's the wavelength of basically the energy that's in a sauna. And so what's happening with infrared heat is it's one of the many things that helps to structure the water in our body. And so we are mostly water, and we've known through the work of Dr. Pollack and even Dr. Cowan's book and people like Gina Bria out there who are really sharing how our health is dependent on the structured water in our body. And so structured water helps us to maintain a healthy cell voltage, which is really critical for the cell to function. It helps to also store energy in the body, and it helps to it helps to increase capillary or blood flow rather in the capillaries, and lymphatic flow. And so there's all these wonderful biological effects of exclusion zone or structured water in the body. And the more I read about it, I think about they're these really complex topics, right? And then you try to really simplify them. And I've kind of, after reading about this, I'm like, okay, our health is really dependent on how much structured water we have in our body. And so I think that the infrared sauna is not only a huge detoxification tool and an elimination tool, but it also adds energy into our system that helps our water to be structured, and that translates into so many health benefits. So that's those are my thoughts around sauna therapy, especially infrared sauna.
And Christine, I love how you've looked at it from, like, obviously getting toxins out of your body is a positive, but it's kind of a negative that they're there in the first place. But
Right.
it's a positive that we're sweating them out. But I love how now you've turned it into a positive therapy as well, where now we're creating that structured water, like the best possible water for our body, especially with the near infrared therapy. That's key. And so I just love the way that now it's gone from it's not just a getting stuff out of our bodies. Sometimes you can just see that as kind of a negative thing, like I'm doing this just to get out of my body, literally, which is not a bad thing because we want to build health. But I also love it where there's that positive spin where you're actually also creating health at the same time. Like, you don't just need to be thinking about these therapies as bad or removing toxins. You're actually creating this beautiful energy, this beautiful cell environment. Like, that just puts a totally different spin on it, I think, in terms of, it's not just all about like, I've just got to do all of this to get rid of my bad health or get rid of my symptoms. You've turned it into, I'm actually creating really good health. And I'm setting my body up for like the structured water, the best possible water that my cells need. Like, that's such a positive spin on it, Christine, which I really love, and a different angle that I hadn't heard from that way before.
No, that's, yeah, such a great point. And I think we get into this mindset in this world of like, oh, I've got to kill this, I got to remove this. And, you're right, it sets up this really kind of vicious cycle, right, of trying to recover your health. And, I had a teacher, you're reminding me in school that, one way to shift health is really like, how do we add more health to a system? And that kind of, helps to, really decrease, the disease in a body. So I like that reframe. I think we need it, especially when we're all, really overwhelmed and overburdened during these times.
I totally agree with you. And we all want to add more health. Like, who doesn't want? I know me personally, I'm like, I do things today because I want more health. If you know, I'm getting rid of problems. I'm not really old either, but I just want more health.
Yeah, I love it.
I've got a question come through that asking, if a person is struggling to get hydrated, like their electrolytes are really low, their body's really struggling, is sauna going to be too hard? Like, is that going to dehydrate them even more, even just for small amounts of time?
Yeah, it's a great question. And while I love sauna, like some of my patients who are, weak or still recovering, sauna treatment can be too strong, right? So if you're going into the sauna and you're feeling depleted, it's not the right time for you. So the couple things to think about is to shorten the duration. So just really, start going in 5-10 minutes, get your body acclimated. And then, of course, if you're having a hydration issue, we're always putting electrolytes in our water. In most of our protocols, electrolytes are things like sodium, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus. They're going to help with, hydration and help us to hold on to our water. So we have people really use electrolytes in their protocols, but also, of course, we want to use that during a sauna or a foot bath as well. And then if you're having this constant depletion of minerals and electrolytes and you can't get on top of it, things to think about, definitely looking at, your adrenal system. Our adrenals produce hormones that regulate our salt balance. So that could be part of it. And then a lot of our patients with biotoxin illness or, suffering from Lyme or mold, they can have a low antidiuretic hormone. So antidiuretic hormone is a pituitary hormone that's produced and it helps us to signal us to hold on to our water. So what happens when you have a biotoxin illness, for a lot of reasons that if you want to look up Dr. Shoemaker's work, he really kind of pioneered this framework. He showed, and really, I would say 8 to 9 out of 10 of my patients have low antidiuretic hormone. And what that looks like in the body is that you're really thirsty and you're peeing all the time. And so we recover somebody by correcting all those imbalances, plus really remineralizing. Just, you might need electrolytes all day long, and that's okay, and it's not forever, but to get your cup full, you might need to just, saturate your system. IV fluids can be helpful. And then some people for a short amount of time might even need antidiuretic hormone replacement to help their tissues to get hydrated again.
Awesome. And then I've got one more question that's just come through live. What about eczema? Is sweating going to be a trigger for itchiness with eczema?
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because when you have a skin condition like eczema, it's multifactorial, right? But typically, the skin is a route of elimination, and typically there is some underlying condition that basically the body's trying to eliminate through the skin, and so that can create all sorts of skin signs like eczema or any skin rashes or so forth. And so it's like the skin, the body's overwhelmed, and you want to help support that route of elimination. But I think, we have to treat people where they're at. And it's, for some people, it can feel good and some people can be aggravating. So you just want to, be mindful. But when you have eczema, you want to look, of course, gut, and also supporting, gut health, and then supporting your other organs of elimination, especially the liver and the kidneys.
And now, Dr. Christine, you talk a lot, which I absolutely love, about the lymphatic system. Like there's not many people that really talk about it. We hear about the liver, we hear about the skin detoxifying stools, but I love how you bring such great awareness to the lymphatic system and just spend a lot of time talking about it and explaining it to your patients and explaining it to the world. And Sophia Institute, you guys have obviously developed the Flow Cream as well. So can you just talk us through that in terms of what it does, why you developed it, and just why we need to support our lymphatic system so much?
Yeah, absolutely. So the lymphatic system is one thing that I love talking about. I think it's the most overlooked system in the body when we're recovering someone's health from a chronic illness. And the lymphatic system is a waste clearance system, so it's a big part of how we detoxify. And then it's a really important part of our immune system. It's how we really clear and recognize pathogens and mobilize our immune system. And it does all sorts of interesting things, like it also helps us to carry progesterone and hormones. My friend Dr. Ginger Nash, we're doing a lymph and hormone cleanse, and she is really into women's health and kind of taught me that part of the lymphatic system that I didn't quite put together yet. And so yeah, it's a really foundational system. When we think about the lymph system, we have lymph nodes, lymph vessels, we have lymph organs, and really a big part of our work is to how to get the lymphatic system moving. And so we do this in a few different ways. There's definitely different strategies like movement and dry skin brushing, walking, rebounding can be helpful. And then we try to understand, okay, why is someone's lymph system congested, right? Do they have a chronic pathogen? Is their body overwhelmed by toxicity? Is there another, they have scars in their body that's, blocking their lymphatic system. So we look at all those things. And then a big part of a really exciting discovery, I think only in 2015, was the discovery of the lymph system in the brain. It's called the glymphatic system. So we treat a lot of people with neurodegenerative diseases or just cognitive impairment, brain fog, insomnia and anxiety, any type of, neuroinflammation, as well. And so what is really foundational to treating anyone's central nervous system and brain is helping the glymphatic system work well at night. And so what happens is when we sleep, our brains shrink about 60% of size to make room for the flow of lymph, basically bathe our brain and drain out of our brain. And just to oversimplify it, a big part of this is to, really open up the drainage pathway, especially in the neck, so that lymph has somewhere to go. And so if you have a chronic infection and you have chronically congested lymphatic, lymph nodes in the neck, or just, there's all sorts of other reasons, we developed the cream with our friend Dr. Ruggiero to basically improve lymph flow, and also it supports the immune system. There's a special probiotic in the cream that makes a peptide called macrophage activating factor, and when you put that transdermally, you get that what's in the cream, it basically gets absorbed into the skin, into the interstitium, into the lymphatics. And so we've seen that decongest the lymph nodes wherever you apply it, and then that makes the path clear for the brain. So we use it a lot for people at night when they sleep. But Dr. Ruggiero, when he created it and we were working together with patients, we did ultrasounds and we showed before and afters of blood flow to certain organs. So one patient put it on her spleen, the cream, and then we showed more perfusion of blood in the spleen after applying the flow cream. So yeah, it's a really fun product. We've gotten so much great feedback. When it works, it's like that thing that works right away, and it just helps to really improve lymphatic drainage in the body.
It's amazing, Christine. I love all these tools and techniques, and I love everything that you and Dr. Clean Heart come up with, and just anyone that's listening that's not following you guys, you're just a wealth of information. And I am so grateful. In this 25, you've just given us so many things in terms of already. I'm like, okay, pH strips for the clinic. Oh my God. I've got a big to-do list in terms of what that we can be doing. So I am so grateful for you giving up some of your time on a Friday evening tonight to talk us through these therapies. And I'm just so grateful to you just in general. My huge heartfelt gratitude, and all my clients that are using these therapies are also grateful, because you were the turning point in terms of where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring it to New Zealand. So thank you so much because you've been inspirational and pivotal in my clinic here in New Zealand. And so your light shines throughout the world, and I'm so grateful for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Shelley. That means so much. And I'm just so glad that we can connect today. And I love that even though we're far apart, we get to do this together. And I'm so grateful that you're helping so many people in New Zealand. It makes me really happy to hear.
Well, it's your influence. So thank you so much, Dr. Christine.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.